Good morning and welcome to the June 21st episode of MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. I'm back and I want to say thank you to Tom Lawrence and Jason Slagle for covering for me last week, and joined as always, Mr. Tony Francisco. How you doing, my brother?
I'm great, Ray. How are you doing?
I'm not only good, I'm also Batman.
Everyone here who can imagine what's happening on the Backroom channel. I'm begging Ray. I said, please just say, I am Batman.
I don't know what's worse if I do like I'm Batman, or like, which every time I get sick, that's exactly what I chase. My son loves it. I just go throughout the house. My wife gets so annoyed with me, but it's nonstop. I'm Batman. And I will say, if you're going to send your people out to conferences, be prepared to lose them for a couple of weeks when they come back due to conference related illnesses, as I myself, I'm not only the president, but I'm also a client, can attest to. But that's not what we're here for. We're not here for comics. We're here for news. And Tony, you got a lot of news. What's happening?
We do. June 21st, we're kicking it off with, believe it or not, ransomware. DeadBolt Ransomware is now actively targeting QNAP NAS devices. Again, as indicated in darkreading.com, the QNAP network-attached storage devices are running out-of-date software, are absolutely being attacked in an increasingly number of active attacks by a new DeadBolt ransomware campaign. The company is investigating the situation, but meanwhile, QNAP recommends updating its OS as soon as possible. While NAS devices as a whole tend to be an easier target, the reasoning happens to extend drastically from out-of-date operating systems to just the overall policies that are being implemented. The NAS devices are often soft targets for cyber criminals because they're not set up properly or protected by a firewall. And most importantly, they're not managed by typically an IT team. Ray, this opens up a very, very interesting point to the audience that we speak to every day, the MSP, the MSSP, very specifically the TSP, the technology service provider. NAS devices, QNAP, Synologies are so readily available and so easy to implement. They can purchase them over the counter and do an over the counter implementation by the book, but all of your data is located on there. And these are great for the SMB, even for your personal use at home, which you and I both know very well. But now that they're open and they're available with that huge treasure trove of information, they're just an easy target, almost low-hanging fruit for the ransomware campaigns that are out there. What do you think the impact's going to be from an SMB perspective? And is this something that the MSP and the MSSP should be really targeting as well?
Tony, I want to set up this premise for you and tell me if this makes sense. I want you to imagine a box, and in this box, you're going to put your valuables. You're going to put your tax documentation. You're going to put your cherished family photos over years, if not decades. You're going to put important financial documents. You're going to put all these important things in this box. If that was a safe in your house, it would be in the darkest, most remote corner, possibly bolted down. But in the world of IoT, we're going to put it online because we want to access our Plex server. We want to access our VMs. We want to access our VPN if we have that set up. And I don't think, and that's the problem I have with a lot of these devices. They absolutely have uses. Look, I have Synologies at home. I've used QNAP in the past. Absolutely. I'm not arguing against these devices. My concern is how easy they are to set up. The whole reason you get this, you get your Synology disk station or whatever you're getting, and you can light up VMs. You can light up your own DNS server. You can light up your own Pi-hole. You can light up your own filtering, and it's all click, 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 and they're set up. And we have this, Steve Gibson calls it the tyranny of the defaults, right? We have these defaults set up so you can access it. Most people are worried about getting it working. I've yet to have somebody in the world come to me and say, how do I secure it? And that's where these issues come from. I'm not sure if QNAP is really more inherently more risky than other devices than Synology or some of the other ones. I do know they have a horrible history of updates. QNAP is just bad for that. But as far as the attack surface, I don't know if they're inherently more insecure. It's just the fact that they're out there. And I don't want people hearing this saying, okay, well, I have Synology. I'm safe because I have Synology. I'm safe because I use FreeNAS. I'm safe because whatever. You still have to do this modicum of security, good hygiene to protect your stuff. And I think that's the mark that's being missed by articles like this.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, thank you for clearing the noise, formulating the argument coherently, because putting all your valuables in a singular location, you're going to hide that. That's not what's occurring here. You're putting it in a lot of cases, an internet accessible a device, which is terrifying. You're doing this typically without an IT administrator setting it up behind a firewall, setting up the appropriate ACLs, appropriate permissions. This is all of your valuables, and you're putting it in a location that is accessible to everyone. You're putting it literally by the front door. So that's something that everyone should be looking at. The MSP community, please, 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 I cannot emphasize this enough. Talk to your clients. Ask them, do you have a Synology? Do you have a QNAP device? Anybody can go out and purchase this. This is an ample opportunity, a revenue opportunity for you to not only administer that and save these valuables, but possibly offer an alternative solution. That's exactly where Datto came into play. That's how they became so big. And they realized that the balance between the cloud and the local on-premise device was the key that everyone's looking for. So this is an ideal opportunity, but the configuration is critical. That being said,
I mean, that's exactly it. Have the conversation. It's not, we get these people all the time that ask, are these devices manufactured in China? TLDR, they're all manufactured in China or Taiwan or, very close, about the same, but it's a matter of, are you filtering your egress traffic? Are you monitoring what's going out? Have those conversations. Speaking of monitoring, AWS should have been monitoring their own employees. Tony, what's in your wallet?
Capital One attacker exploits multiple misconfigured AWS databases. And really finding out what is in your wallet, what's in everyone's wallet. As pointed out in darkreading.com and many other publications, the 36-year-old Seattle tech worker behind the infamous 2019 Capital One data breaches has been convicted on 7 charges related to data theft, which are punishable by up to 20 years in jail. Paige Thompson, who operated under the hacker handle Erratic, made off with more than 100 million credit applications. That's 100 million credit applications that were held in a misconfigured AWS database storage bucket in the cloud. Ms. Thompson used her hacking skills to steal the personal information of more than 100 million people and hijacked computer servers to mine cryptocurrency, said U.S. Attorney Nick Brown in a statement. Prosecutors noted that Thompson specifically used a scanner to look for AWS misconfigurations in which the databases are left open to the internet without authentication required to access the information that was exploited. In all, she managed to infiltrate the databases of 30 entities, including Capital One, stealing data and in some cases planting cryptocurrency miners. Also to note, earlier this month, researchers from SecureWorks Counter Threat Unit, CTU, found that cyber attackers are targeting misconfigured Elasticsearch cloud buckets for extortion purposes. After finding data exposed in the public internet, the attackers steal the wide open data and replace it with a ransom note. At this time, nearly 1,200 instances have been affected. Ray, this goes back from the first story, misconfiguration. A single misconfiguration can lead to disaster. This goes back into the importance of the MSP, the MSSP, the TSP. If they're selling the same technology that's readily available, even your customers are going to set up an AWS account. It doesn't mean that you can do it. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And if you can unpack this a little bit, am I sharing the same fear that I think I should be sharing with everyone that now, automatic weapons are available to kindergartners? There's a major issue here. So much damage could be done by something that's so easily and readily available. What are your thoughts?
I mean, To me, the biggest takeaway from that story was Paige Thompson's using a tool that is examining AWS for misconfigurations. Why doesn't AWS have that same tool to examine for misconfigurations, right? I don't know what she used. I don't know if it's a publicly available tool, but to hear that a company like Capital One, a multi-billion-dollar global entity like Capital One, didn't have somebody in their security team check for misconfigurations, have the same access to the same tools, is mind-boggling to me. It's these, when you think about this stuff where, you're battling the opponent and you want to make sure you have the same tools the opponent has accessible. Well, I find it hard to believe that Miss Thompson was able to find a tool that the Capital One staff wasn't able to have. You better believe with the kind of spend Capital One has with AWS, there's some AWS advisors on the AWS, on the Amazon side, also advising, why isn't Amazon doing this proactively, right? I mean, this has been my argument for years. When Log4j and stuff came out, my argument was, why isn't the RMM vendor the first to alert you of these things? Why isn't the RMM vendor the first one to tell you, you have something on your system, you have this, we're matching this software version that you have with these known CVEs, and here's the link, just to make you aware. These things should be automated. This is not new. Why aren't the vendors being held accountable to actually share this information with them?
That I'm going to be the devil's advocate for just a moment. It's almost a boil the ocean scenario where the vendor is saying, we're going to give you a lot of tools and functionality and features that can do a lot of damage, but then imagining the configuration combinations in play and all of the restrictive mechanisms for those combinations almost seems impossible. And I'm not saying that it is impossible, and nor am I saying it's advisable. I'm just saying that maybe in this particular case, that's one of the things that slipped through the cracks. Maybe in this particular case, there are use cases scenarios where the admin level access can be implemented to put in cryptocurrency miners. Now, I'm not saying that that's what admins should be doing in their customer accounts, but there are situations where that is applicable, and this being exploited by somebody that was looking for permission level access. Maybe that's what occurred here. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to balance out the reality of how many things can happen to the unfortunate things that do happen based on exploited use case scenarios. But
yeah,
go ahead.
I'm not sure I want to give them that pass, but we want to hear from you. Am I off base? Is Tony off base? What's going on? How are you combating this? What do you think the expectations are? Hit us up, news@mspmedia.tv. Hit us in the comments below. Hit us on Reddit. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your thoughts are. Tony, in our last story, I want to phone home and I can't. What's going on?
Microsoft has done another update. And with this update, I know it's never been said before, but there have been some issues. In a recent Windows Server update, VPN, RDP, and remote access connections have been broken. As indicated in bleepingcomputer.com, the standard monthly Windows Server update has broken a wide range of issues, including the VPN RDP connectivity problems on server levels, Windows server levels, and the routing and remote access service, the RRAS service, if it's enabled. The typical June update that was implemented, as quoted from one admin telling Bleeping Computer, what I saw after the June update was installed was that no TCP connections established from either the client side or the server side would ever get up and running. I couldn't do a basic RDP session into the server either, even where a VPN isn't needed because I'm connecting from a management PC within the same trusted subnet. Ray, there are so many questions I have about this because updates are critical. The very first story was enforcing update your operating systems. The second story was misconfigurations, even the smallest level, can cause catastrophic and global events. In this particular case, an update was applied and was pushed from Microsoft. and it is in turn causing issues. What is the right answer? I feel like we're saying to everyone the same thing all the time: update, update, update. But hold on. Wait, hold on. What are your thoughts on this? And I would love feedback from the MSP community, the community that we talk to every single day about this. What are your updates out there? Please let us know. Do you absolutely update everything immediately? Are you one step behind? Are you two steps behind? Ray, what are your thoughts on this?
So it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Microsoft's pushing us to get updates out more quickly. In many cases, they're pushing updates whether we want them or not. They're pushing upgrades. We're all aware of Patch Tuesday. Those in the WinAdmin Slack often refer to the day after as Weeping Wednesday to see what the fallout from those patches are. Many experts say just leave automatic updates on, and then you have stuff like this that happens that completely breaks it. I wanted to highlight also, there was a recent Reddit post where a client was asking the MSP that they demanded CVE patches applied within 2 days of being released, and we'll include that in the show notes. And I'm thinking, how in the world are you supposed to test this stuff, right? Like, as it is, average, and I'm not speaking as best practice or anything. I'm saying in my MSP days, we would test patches from 2 weeks to a month. And as long as we were within 30 days of the patch being released, applying it to the systems, we were happy. Testing for 2 weeks and then took us about 2 weeks to deploy across our entire customer base. That worked well. But 2 weeks usually gave us that warning of everything, all hell is going to break loose or everything's going to be fine. But here, you're stuck. And I feel the MSP gets blamed no matter what they do, right? If they do it immediately or they take too long, what are you supposed to do? Tony, if you're that theoretical MSP that's being put in this position, how would you respond? What would be your I don't know why I'm butchering that. Let me do it this way. All right. Tony, if you're that MSP's client, you hear every day things are getting broken and they need to be patched, but then you hear these stories of patches breaking things. As a client, what would you expect? What would be comforting for you to hear?
I think it's important that education and communication is paramount here. I believe that the communication to your customers being internal, your management, your executive levels, all the way to your end customers that you're servicing as an MSP, TSP, MSSP, educating them on the complexity of this configuration and displacing one single attribute, and the structure could fall. Consequently, also reminding them that while you're putting out fires and the vendor's doing an update on the back end, they could be setting fire to the very fire truck that you're using, and that isn't a fun game to play. But again, communication and education is critical, because what that does is that sets up an understanding of the context of what you're doing and how you're doing and how are you doing it and all of the external forces against you in doing this. And although your path of resolution may be set, there may be some operational underpinnings that vendor level updates that come along that completely disrupt this particular pattern. So education is critical. And although in the MSP world, what we do is we're constantly looking for that path to resolution, and that we're finding the necessary configuration or solution or framework to implement, we seem to be missing the communication to the customer that this is how it works and this is why it works. Because frankly, explaining this all the time, every day to your customers, sometimes it's like explaining gravity to a chicken, but it's necessary. It's so they understand that you're actually doing something and all the external forces against you aren't making it easy, even though it looks easy because, frankly, you're skilled at what you're doing. So those are my thoughts. I think that there's a lot of different angles that we can play on this. We're all saying the same thing every day. All three stories are, hey, ransomware, update your stuff. The second one was, hey, a small misconfiguration can have catastrophic consequences. And the third one is, updating something, not good. So all three of these stories summarize the life of the MSP and the IT community. So with that, let's get into the notable mentions and the other stuff. But this is a perfect segmentation into what our life is like every single day.
So you're saying there's not enough patches. We need to patch, but don't patch. This is what you say when you're explaining gravity to a chicken. I got it. Okay, cool. And I am Batman. All right. So speaking of explaining gravity to a chicken and Chicken Little's The Sky is Falling, perfect segue into the internet was broke last night. Cloudflare, which is responsible for, let's be honest, almost all the internet traffic, 19 of their data centers became unavailable at 6:27 UTC yesterday. They brought the first of the data centers back online 31 minutes later, which is no small feat. And by 7:42, which is an hour and 30 minutes later, an hour and 20 minutes later, they were fully back online. For those that don't know, Cloudflare acts as a CDN, a DDoS mitigation, transit provider, and many, 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 many other services. For other providers, they are the intermediary. So when they go down, it all goes down. But thankfully, by the time most of us woke up this morning, it was all back and running. This is in response to their upgrade to their multi-colo POP upgrades that they're doing with their close network. We'll include a link to their blog. Honestly, one of the best things about when Cloudflare has an issue is they do an immediate deep dive blog and explain everything, which is absolutely amazing and fun to read for the internal nerd in me. So I will include the link there.
I was just gonna say, fun to read. The dichotomy was too much. That is fun to read. Half the users listening to this right now are saying, "Did he just say fun to?" That the root cause analysis is fun to read.
It's got pretty pictures. All right, and our second notable mention, Huntress Labs is at Kaseya's Connect IT in Vegas. They have launched their Neighborhood Watch program a year after nearly a year to the day after Kaseya's notable breach that happened last year that affected MSPs around the globe. Huntress is putting $5 million into protecting the MSPs that protect their clients. This Neighborhood Watch program is going to give internal use licenses at zero cost to MSPs. So we'll include the link below. It's an amazing effort. We will be having an interview with Andrew Kaiser of Huntress on Monday. And he'll come on for video, so we'll have that. We'll give it on the Tuesday's episode of Dispatch. But we'll include the link. If you're not already taking advantage of Huntress, please sign up right away. You definitely need to. Let's get ourselves protected first. We are the first line. Speaking of Kaseya's Connect IT, Tony, what else do we have coming up?
We have some amazing community events coming up on June 20th to 23rd in person. The Connect IT Global in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have on the 21st to the 24th, we have the IT Expo in Fort Lauderdale. On the 23rd, we have the Data Export 101 presented by DNS Filter. And on the 24th, another amazing episode with Ray Batman and myself for the MSP Dispatch weekly wrap-up.
That's awesome, Tony. And I know I'm excited for so much of that. I wish I could be there in person, especially IT Expo being in my backyard. But I think at this point, it's safe for me to only connect virtually with people for at least a few more days. So that's it. That wraps us for June 21st, 2022. Hopefully this voice hasn't been too rough on your ears, but we appreciate you joining us. As always, we want to see you in the comments below, or hit us up on social, or hit us up news@mspmedia.tv. Tony, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you.
I'm so glad you're back, Ray. You and Batman. I've never seen either of you in the same room, so I'm convinced this is the moment. This is what we call an exploding noema, where our brains are reconciling what is versus what we thought was. We now know. We'll keep it a secret. Shh.
And with that, this is MSP Dispatch, and I am Batman.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.
But this has been your January. Wow. Okay. I just went back 6 months. So this has been.
That was really funny. This is in your That's a blooper right there. This has been your January.
Yeah.
What?
I'm Batman and I can't tell time. No. All right.
And that Capital One attacker has completely destroyed. God, I flubbed that one up into some of that was going good.
No problem.
Good, and I didn't know where it was going. Okay, ready. Hold on. Okay. What's my wallet? I like that you threw me off with that, by the way. That one,
I couldn't like it was one of those moments of like light bulb. And I'm like, I have to say this.
It was so good. It was, but I think it was the combination of the Batman voice and what's in your wallet. It's like,
what's in your wallet?
Okay.